this is happening again.
What's that?
Maybe not. They taped it. This is such a... Because this is gradually going down. It's okay. Jai Suparikar Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharika Giridhari Shishi Radha Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Jiu Ki Jai Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Jiu Ki Jai Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Jiu Ki Jai Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gauranga Ki Jai Jai Shri Sringa Bhavana Ki Jai Jai Shri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Shri Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Shri Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Shri Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Goprananandi. We'll do a couple of minutes of kirtan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayati Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahabhadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauda Trishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams, my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. That I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. And my Dandavat Pranams To all of my Shri Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga, my Dandavat pranams to the Vaishnavas and the Vaishnavis. So our festival, grand festival, Maha Mahotsav, went off very nicely, and so many devotees came, and now so many devotees have left, but the Harikatha goes on. Even if only the walls are here. Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told this. And our Prabhupada also repeated it. And actually, when he first began his preaching in New York City, he kept a diary. Anybody has read that diary? It's published. It's in our folio on the computer. It's called the New York Diary. And so Srila Prabhupada, during that first winter, he was going on, giving his classes in some little room that he rented in an office building. And from there he had to walk a few blocks to Dr. Mishra's place, take his bath there, because there was no shower facilities in his office room. He had only a toilet and a sink, and he would sleep there. But yet, he persevered and would offer these classes. I'm not sure if he did it every day of the week. It might have been like 3 days a week at that point. But he kept a diary, and he would say, today I did kirtan, and Mr. Such and Such came, Mrs. Such and Such came. Or he would tell the number of people. There were 2 people showed up. Collection, 75 cents, or something like that. He would keep his diary, yeah, and he would sometimes mention what he was speaking on. And one time he wrote that no one came, so I did kirtan with my TR. You know what TR is? Abbreviation for his tape recorder. And it literally had tape recorder. He had a tape recorder given to him. That's how he recorded many of these lectures that you see that are listed in the year 1966. Yeah.
I heard that the whole introduction to Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada gave alone.
Mm-hmm.
Gave that lecture alone.
Yeah.
It's so incredible.
Yeah. And of course, we know that he was working on giving his translation and purports to the Bhagavad Gita, and his whole manuscript was stolen. Such struggles Prabhupada had. But on this night when he said, I did kirtan with my tape recorder, TR, and then he says, I am prepared to continue against all obstacles. He said, even if I have to go to hell, if there is facility to preach my mission, that will be acceptable, he said. Yeah. And there's another time when it was actually Gaur Purnima, his first Gaur Purnima in the West, and he was alone. And he said, in India, so many festivities are going on. That's when he told that I am prepared to go to hell to preach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, the mission of my Guru Maharaj.
Didn't he sometimes practice giving class in English by himself in India before he came here?
Yeah,
Heard,
in India.
I think in Mathura, he would just
Yes.
give class alone in the room in English.
With the TR.
I don't think it was.
He didn't have a TR at that time.
Just practicing giving class in English.
Yes, so Harikatha, our Gurudev, one of his specialities was that he would preach the importance of Harikatha. And he would say that if one does not have attraction for Harikatha, then one will not have attraction for chanting Harinam. And vice versa. If one does not have attraction for chanting Harinam, then one will not have attraction for Harikatha. Both are required in a devotee's life. It's not a big mystery. We see it all throughout the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. In the lives of all of our acharyas. Harikatha. So, Krishna is Harikatha. He is the Katha, Shrinvatam Svakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. Shrinvatam, by hearing. Svakatha, it is called there. Sva means his own, Krishna's. Svakatha, Krishna. The Katha of Krishna himself. Srinvatam Svakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. This is glorious. Punya Shravana Kirtana. It is so exalted. Punya Shravana Kirtana. The hearing and chanting of Svakatha Krishna, Krishna's own Katha. And then, this is from the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, very famous 5 verses. And then he says, Hridi antaksto hi abhadrani. Here it says Hridi, in the heart. Hridi anta sto. Antaksto means he, Krishna, is situated in the heart. Hridi antaksto hi abhadrani vidunoti. What is abhadrani? It's the opposite of bhadra. You know what bhadra means? It's another word in Sanskrit for auspicious, like mangalam, bhadra. Bhadra also means auspicious. So abhadra means inauspicious. That's why he translated that verse with the words, the inauspicious things, all the inauspicious things that are within the heart. They will be cleaned, vidunoti. They will be cleaned by Krishna. Krishna himself does the cleaning in the heart. Hridi antaksto. He is situated in everyone's heart. When he sees that someone is hearing about him, then what happens? Suhrit satam. Suhrit. You know this word? Suhrit. Krishna tells at the end of the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. He says, I am the Suhrit, the well-wishing friend of who? Sarva Bhutanam, all living entities. Sarva Bhutanam. I am the well-wishing friend of every living entity. So in this verse, it is being told by Sutta Goswami that Hridi antak stohi abhadrani vidunoti suhrit satam. Krishna acts as the suhrit, the well-wishing friend of who? Satam. Satam means his devotees, specifically his devotees. And what does he do therefore? He cleanses everything that is inauspicious in the heart. Gradually he cleanses the heart from all the, what? Abhadras. Abhadra also means anartha. Artha and anartha. Unnecessary things. Artha, yesterday we were talking. Artha means things that are necessary, necessities. But anartha means unnecessary. These are superfluous. These are not things that are supposed to be there. They are not supposed to be there. So the anarthas, the science of understanding the process, how the anarthas become cleansed, is the whole presentation of this Madhurya Kadambini. Yes, the Madhurya Kadambini, beautiful volume that Gurudev has given to the whole world with so much detail. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur wrote this book, and he's describing there what will be the stages when the living entity, beginning from Shraddha, begins to practice bhakti. And we've already heard this in our lives many times, hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times, that it begins with Shraddha, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav, and finally, praying. But what happens in each one of these stages? How does one go from one stage to the next stage? That's all described in Madhurya Kadambini in great detail. This is a science. That's why Prabhupada used to say the science of bhakti yoga, the science of self-realization, because it is a scientific process that if you do such and such, then such and such will happen. Like in a laboratory, right? You've got formulas, scientific formulas that are given, that have been demonstrated over and over again, right? Right? The scientists, they can do exactly the same mixture, combination, procedure, and they get the same reaction, the same chemical reaction, the same result. So, people in the West are very attached to science. Yes? They're very attached to science. But unfortunately, science has become completely atheistic. It is even required in all universities that you have to adhere to the scientific theory of the creation of the universe. Right? They even call it a theory. But yet, they teach it as if it is actually fully proven. It is absolute fact. There was an explosion. Don't mind where, who, how, and what exploded? Chemicals that were swirling like gases. Where they came from? No explanation, nothing. And they exploded. Big bang. And then what? Oh, suddenly globes floating in outer space. And then, oh, in the very beginning, the most, how do you say, tiniest living cell suddenly, pop, just came into existence. A living cell. And then it divided itself, and then over hundreds and millions and billions of years, it kept dividing itself and coming into all forms and shapes. Then it began to fly in the sky with wings, and then it began to fill the oceans in all different forms, swimming. And then it crawled up onto the land. Right?
You sound like a professor.
Crawled up onto the land, and all of a sudden, all these different, what are they called? Not amphibious, reptilian species, they all began to manifest. At one point, they grew very, very big. They became dinosaurs. But then, after that, the whole evolutionary process continued on and on and on. Then there was mammals, and they're on the land, and then they were four-legged, and then suddenly there were mammals that could stand up with two legs. They still had kind of a fourth legs, kind of, like baboons. And then they evolved, and they kept evolving, and they kept evolving. then all of a sudden there was a type of animal standing up on two legs, a little bit hunched over, right? And it suddenly discovered fire one day by hitting stones against one another, right? And that's how gradually, over millions more years, they turned into Homo sapiens. That can think, and that can talk, and that can do all kinds of mathematical equations. So that's what took place. That's why we're here. And we are the end of all evolution, right? We're the greatest of all. And now the current science is, this is not good enough. We have to still evolve until we become merged with machine. It's called transhumanism. And then mixed with other genetics from other species and all of this, you see. Yeah.
Really saying that?
Oh, yes, they are. Oh, yes, they are. This new vaccination, main first step in that direction. Anyway, so why am I telling this? Because it's a theory. It's never been proven. I saw a documentary one time. I saw a documentary of one man who was very well known. He was somewhat of a little bit of a comedian, but he very well known. I don't remember it, but very famous. And he was opposing this evolutionary theory, Darwin theory. So what he wanted to do was he wanted to expose. And he went onto university campuses and he interviewed big PhD students of high-level different departments of science, physics, everything, right? And just like questioning them. So, you're a student, PhD. Can you tell what proof there is of the validity of the Darwinian theory of evolution that is being taught in the university? Can you give any proof that has once and for all proof that this is all a fact? So first of all, he asked them, do you think that Darwinian theory is a fact? Oh, yes, of course it's a fact. These are like PhD students. And then he asked them, so can you cite the evidence? Can you give the facts? And they said, yeah, I can give the facts. And they were stumped. Because there has never been any facts to prove the Darwinian theory. Then he went and he interviewed a few professors who had already come to the conclusion by their own research and so forth that this cannot be, that this Darwinian evolutionary theory is true. They began to publish their research. And what happened? They lost their jobs. Bye-bye. So this is called conspiracy. Srila Prabhupada was the one who came and challenged everything. Fearlessly. And he completely obliterated all of their bogus, rascal arguments. And he used that word probably a few lakhs of times in his lectures, in his books even, rascals. Yes? So, but the Western mind has this attachment to science, that if you can't see it proven, it can't be, right? So I'm not seeing God, so how am I going to believe in him? You see? But can you see your hand in front of your face when you close your eyelids? Oh, your eyes are so powerful, so capable, so perfect. so infallible, your eyes and all of your sensory organs, that you think that you, first of all, why do you think that you need to see God? To believe. Why do you think that? How do you know that even if God appeared to you, how you would know that He's God? We know that Krishna appeared on this earth planet 5,000 years ago. We have plenty of evidence to prove that Krishna was here. There is proof. That's why this process is called a science, because it can be proven. It can be proven. There's a formula. If someone acts and practices in a certain way, then they will become qualified to see God, to perceive Him, to know everything about Him. There is a science that is called the science of Bhakti Yoga. And which book, particularly, has been written by our great acharyas in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that completely gives the entire process in detail, how someone will know that this is true. It's called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami, which was taught to him by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he manifested that. So, this is not a theory. It is not theoretical. If it was a theory, we would not be seeing what has taken place in this world, in the modern day, in the ancient times. Entire cultures, entire civilizations, based upon the Vedic knowledge. This is the first thing in the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that has to be learned and understood fully. What is that called? Praman, evidence. This is all provable. And especially Srila Jiva Goswami, as a service to Sanatana and Rupa, he protected their presentation of all their literatures by writing the Sandarbhas, Sat Sandarbhas. These Sandarbhas philosophically completely explain the whole basis of the Goswami's literatures according to the Vedic knowledge. And they prove without a shadow of a doubt, by logic and by every single method, that this is the truth, this is the highest knowledge. It's proven. So, we've been studying for the last weeks, we've been studying Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's very deep, intricate explanation of the Sri Upadeshamrita verses. He wrote separate essays on the two verses, verse 2 and verse 3 of Upadeshamrita, which are explaining what are the 6 unfavorable activities which will actually cause bhakti to be destroyed, and which are the 6 favorable activities which will cause bhakti to increase and enhance bhakti. 6 and 6. So he wrote 12 essays, and that's been published in Gurudev's Upadeshamrita book, the most recent publication, most recent printing. They've included that. So we've been reading that for the last few weeks, and interrupting it here and there for various festivals. But now we're going to continue. We're actually on the last one now. We're on number 12. So we'll review these two verses first for everybody's knowledge. First verse, if you know it, you can say it along with me. Atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha janak sangascha lolyam cha shadbir bhakti vinashyati utsahan nishchayad dairyat tat tat karma pravartanat sangatyagat sito vritte sadbir bhakti prasidyati. So the first verse is telling Atyahara, Prayasha, Prajalpa, Niyamagraha, Janasanga, Lolyam. These are the 6 activities that will destroy bhakti. We were talking yesterday how bhakti starts like a seed, bhakti lata bij, and how the devotee must become a good gardener and protect the seed and water the seed, and then it will grow into a vine. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was explaining this to Srila Rupa Goswami, he also told about what will take place as this creeper grows. And we didn't talk about that yesterday, but he describes very specifically how it continues to grow as the devotee is watering this creeper and looking after the creeper, and also pulling up weeds. We didn't mention that yesterday. You know, we have our greenhouse and we've had our garden out here for some years already, but there are weeds that automatically grow. Is it not true? I mean, I haven't personally done gardening, but I understand, I've watched, that they have to keep on pulling up the weeds. Why do they have to keep on pulling up the weeds?
Because we're watering.
Yeah.
Other seeds grow.
Right.
The weed seeds grow from our watering.
Yeah, but how did they get there? Did somebody plant the weed seeds?
They floated there. The birds put them there.
Yeah, so many different ways, huh? They're already in the soil too, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what happens when you're watering and the weeds are there? Then what happens?
They grow and take over the space.
They take over the space. But I mean, the weeds, they start not only the space, isn't it that they also take over
The food.
the nourishment that's being given to the plants?
And the water.
They starve the plant that you're trying to grow.
They choke it out.
They choke it out, yeah. This is exactly what happens here. This is exactly what happens. Anything?
I don't know, I
Oh.
was just listening.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't hear what he was saying.
Yeah. So, if we are diligent, I mean, Mahaprabhu told that you have to become a good gardener. He told that. Very specifically, and then he told what the gardener has to do. So, and Gurudev has also talked about this. It's called the upashaka. Sometimes there's an offshoot from the original plant, right? Which can also destroy the original plant. Or somebody can mistake this as being the original plant. They mistake it. A what?
They call it a sucker.
Because it's sucking everything. Yeah. Yeah. So, in this way, is a science. Just like gardening is a science. You have to learn how to do it, what not to do, what to do, how to build a greenhouse, how to heat it in the wintertime. You have to make all the arrangements so that the plants can grow. So in devotional life, this is our business. This is our business. If you're a devotee of Krishna, this is what you do as a devotee of Krishna. And if you don't do that, you cannot really be called a Vaishnava, a devotee of Krishna. You cannot really be called that. It's more in the realm, you're more in the realm of karma, gyan, like that. But bhakti requires diligence. It requires that we pay attention. carefully. And we do all the activities favorable for bhakti, and we avoid the activities that are unfavorable for bhakti. So this, what we've been reading from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is so revolutionary. You have to read it yourself, more than once even, to really understand why these 6 and these other 6, why? Why are they so, each and every one of them, essential and important and indispensable? So, we want to become good devotees. This is our intention. Most devotees, I would say, they really want to become good devotees. And that requires practice. You don't become good at something unless you practice. But unfortunately, a lot of devotees think that they don't really have to practice. They can just believe, But actually, nothing happens on the pathway of advancement unless someone practices and applies the very process and does it regulated way. Not irregular, not once in a while when I feel like it. I mean, I've seen devotees who, they profess to have faith in Krishna, and they feel themselves to be Krishna devotees, but they don't chant the holy names on Japamala. And they go on like this, even for years. I have seen. Or once in a while they do, and then they leave it. This is not the method of success in bhakti. It is definitely not. And we have never seen anyone who has properly progressed by being so neglectful. See? So Krishna, there's a process of chanting Harinam. The whole Upadeshamrita is about that. How you can become a pure chanter of the holy names. 8th verse. You follow the first 7 verses, 8th verse will come. Then you'll be absorbed in Braj Bhajan, in Harinam. Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyojya Tishtan Braje Tad Anuragi Jananugami Kalam Nayed Akilam Iti Upadesha Saram. Gurudev loved this verse. He so many times would cite this verse. Iti Upadesha Saram, Rupa Goswami has now given, he said, what I'm telling in this verse, this is the essence of all instructions that you'll find all throughout the Vedas. This is the essence. Iti Upadesh Sar. Sar means essence, and Upadesh means instructions. So, we can read that verse, and we have heard it many times, but the application, that's a whole other thing. And it takes perseverance. Utsahan, yesterday, I forget who was telling about enthusiasm. Rasika, yes. And I was happy to hear that. Because without that, success doesn't come. But how to get that? Bhaktivinoda Thakur is so clearly explaining in his presentation. Nishchayad means what? Firm determination. Firm conviction. Firm conviction. Dhairyat. Patience. Yes. Patience means perseverance. It means you continue. You don't stop. Right? Tat tat karma pravartanat. We had such a long section on that particular point. It means to do all the activities that are favorable for bhakti, the 64 limbs of bhakti specifically. Everything favorable. Sangha tyagat. Big long section. What kind of sangha? Asat sangha tyagat. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga, Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ji Ki Jai. Sangha Tyagat. Whoa. So much was told about Sangha Tyagat and what type of Sangha, in all different categories. But even all different categories of Asat Sangha. And how to give it up. And what Sangha should one take? You see? So Sangha Tyagat. Then, the one that we're studying now, Sato Vritte. Sato Vritte means to follow in the footsteps, the example of all saintly personalities. Sato Vritte. So, I'm going to resume this reading, and we're going to be continuing this until we finish with this, and then we will go to another scripture and study that. Now, I can't give a summary up to this point, but if you just listen, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, everything is so self-explanatory. Now, he's explaining here. Actually, yeah, I'll read what just came before this. I'll read what came before this, because I was reviewing this earlier. Here he's saying, in a subsection, he says, the regulation to make the mind and body favorable for bhajan. What is the regulation to make the mind and the body favorable for bhajan? We have two bodies, subtle body, gross body. How to make them favorable. So he says, the conclusion of all these principles of Srimad Bhagavatam is that Hari Bhajan is the only objective for the people of this world. This is the conclusion of everything that's been quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam. The conclusion is that Hari Bhajan is the only objective for the people of this world. That means all humans. However, it is impossible to engage in bhajan until the gross and the subtle bodies have been made favorable for that. Understand this point? The gross and the subtle bodies have to be made favorable. He's speaking in a general way for all of humanity, for them to be able to take up this only objective of doing bhajan to Hari, worship of the Supreme Lord. The gross and the subtle bodies have to be made favorable. He says, therefore, the foremost duty of human beings is to make these two external bodies favorable for bhajan. To maintain the gross body. How do you maintain the gross body? Oh, it is necessary to accumulate such things as a house, grains, water, and so on. You need some place, you need some food, like this. So that helps to make the gross body favorable. And for the subtle body, to prosper, true knowledge, which is called sad vidya, true knowledge, and the righteous mode of conduct, which is called sadvriti. These two are needed. True knowledge, sadvidya, and righteous mode of conduct, sadvriti. These two are needed to make the subtle body favorable. So for this reason, it is necessary to adopt a means by which these two necessities can be procured and our Bhagavad Bhajan can continue. That's why Srila Prabhupada, he very famously repeated again and again the simple term. What is that? Simple living, high thinking. This is the key. Simple living, high thinking. Can you just move this camera a little bit this way? Because it's blocking my view. Yeah, that's good. So, simple living, and high thinking. Such a sweet little statement, but so much depth of importance for the Vaishnavas. Now, he says, so for this reason it is necessary to adopt a means by which these two necessities can be procured. Necessities of the body, necessities of the subtle body. And then our Bhagavad Bhajan can continue. Now, after the gross and the subtle bodies are made completely favorable for bhakti, and they are brought to the state of nirgun. What is nirgun? Transcendental to the modes of material nature, the three gunas. So when the gross and the subtle bodies are made completely favorable for bhakti, and they are brought to the stage of nirgun, that is, the state in which they are free from the modes of material nature, then this task of Bhagavad Bhajan, it becomes simple. It becomes simple at that time. But how can we bring people to this stage? That's the question. How can we bring people to this stage? There is one solution. Now he's going to give this solution, how to bring people to this stage. This is the last paragraph in this section. Okay? What is the solution? Whatever nature and whatever desires arise in the living entity, as a result of their reaping the fruits of their activities since time immemorial, they are a mixture of the three modes of material nature. We all bring into this body, into this life, what we've reaped and the effects of the three modes of material nature. So, it is necessary that one first increase goodness. Because you can't just suddenly go directly to nirgun. If that was so, we would have done it a long, long time ago. But it's not possible. So there has to be a process. This is called the solution. He's giving the solution here. It is necessary that one first increase goodness, and by that, subdue passion and ignorance. The whole beginning of Bhagavatam is talking about that. Second chapter, first canto. Tada rajastamo bhava kamalobha dayaschai cheta etair navidham stitam sattve prasidati. Stitam sattve prasidati. Becomes situated in sattva gun. And prasidati becomes very happy, very satisfied. The mind, the body. This is coming from Bhagavad Bhakti. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. By serving Bhagavat. Bhagavata sevaya nityam. Constantly, regulated, always doing this. Two types of Bhagavat. Book Bhagavat and person Bhagavat. Bhakta Bhagavat. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Naishtiki means fixed bhakti. Pure bhakti that is Naishtiki bhakti. Fixed. That means the stage of Nishta. So, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. This is how the bhakti will become situated in that condition. And when the bhakti becomes situated in that way, then what happens to the lower modes of material nature? Tada rajas tamo bhava kama lobha dayaschaye cheta etair anavidham. Your cheta, your heart, your consciousness, it will not be affected by the lower modes of nature, passion and ignorance. What is the effect of the lower modes of material nature? Cheta tada rajas tamo kama lobha adayas. Kama lobha adayas. That means all the 6 principles. Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. These 6 lower effects of the modes of nature, your consciousness in your heart will become nirgun, unaffected by them. First one becomes situated in sattva gun, and that subdues the lower modes of nature. That's why the Krishna consciousness movement is a scientific process, and it has been successful and proven that persons who were steeped in the lower modes of nature took up the process of Bhagavad Bhakti, and what happened? They became more and more and more situated in mode of goodness, some quicker than others. It depends on your previous life and your all of those samskars, everything. Some persons had a harder time, and they fell down into the lower modes of nature again, but then tried to crawl back up. That's also acceptable. But once one becomes successful in Bhagavad Bhakti and beginning to practice actual bhakti according to Upadeshamrita, then the lower modes of nature, they become less and less and less able to affect us at all. So, he goes on and he says, at that time, one will be led by the mode of goodness, sattva gun. All of our activities that we do are meant to increase goodness. The devotional lifestyle is meant for that. Pure vegetarian foodstuffs, 4 regulated principles, rising early, everything is meant for increasing goodness and become situated without activities of passion and ignorance, or being affected by those modes. Even Arjuna is a transcendental eternal associate of Krishna. He is born in a Kshatriya dynasty. The Kshatriyas are in the pure mode of passion, Rajagun. So that's why they can fight and get angry and subdue enemies and all of this. But on the material level, they're still in the mode of passion. That's why Kshatriya kings, they need Brahmanas who are in the mode of goodness to guide the entire society. That's the Vedic system. You'll never find a Kshatriya king who does not have a council of Brahmanas who are giving direction and advice, because they're in the mode of goodness. But the Kshatriyas can also become transcendental. That's why they're called Rajarshis. Kings who are rishis, saints. Yudhishthira, you read Mahabharata, how when they were in exile, Yudhishthira Maharaj especially, he loved being in the forests where there were saints and sages, and every night he would sit and hear and hear and hear from them and associate with them. Dharmaraj himself, you see. But the real quality of the Pandavas is that they're pure devotees of Krishna. And that's why Krishna wanted them to completely defeat all of the demoniac forces and be installed as the leaders of the planet, as the emperor. And that went on for some time. But in the material world, there's always a fight between the demoniac and the divine. That's always going on in the material world. And it's also going on in this world, you see. So, when sattva is completely under the control of bhakti, see now, okay, sattva gun, it is necessary that one first increase goodness, and then by that, subdue passion and ignorance, making goodness the most prominent quality. And at that time, then one will be led by the mode of goodness, sattva gun. And when sattva is completely under the control of bhakti, it becomes transcendental to the modes, nirgun. In other words, when sattva gun is endowed with bhakti, it is called nirgun. Nirgun bhakti. By adopting this process, one's body and mind will gradually become favorable for Bhagavad Bhajan. That's the solution. He said there is one solution in this paragraph, and that's the solution. That's what our lifestyle is. That's exactly what we've been given, is the process to come to the Nirgun platform, completely connected with bhakti. Even if someone doesn't know this sequence, if they engage properly, according to the directions of the acharyas, it will happen automatically. It will happen automatically. Just like we were saying, when one hears Krishna Katha, automatically Krishna begins to cleanse the heart from all anarthas. And when the anarthas are not fully cleansed, but mostly, nashtak prayeshu abhadreshu, then one becomes involved in constantly performing Bhagavad Bhakti. And then also, by performing that Bhagavad Bhakti, all the anarthas, the abhadras, they become cleansed in the heart, and one comes to the stage of goodness. And then, from that stage, one becomes completely absorbed in Bhakti Yoga, and then that goodness state is brought to the pure nirgun state. This is the process. So, the necessity of Varnashram Dharma is the next point that he's bringing up, that as long as a person still has the qualities and the faults of his nature, his primary duty is to observe Varnashram Dharma. The main purpose of Varnashram Dharma is to make those who follow it gradually attain the state of nirgun and thus become qualified for Bhagavad Bhajan. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted the following two verses from Srimad Bhagavatam to Sanatana Goswami. He said, Mukha bahuru padebhya purushasya saha chatvaro jagyare varna gunair vipradaya pritak ye esham purusham sakshad atma prabhavam ishwaram na bhajanti avajananti stanad brashta patanti adha. The two very, very important verses. It is saying here, this is from Chamasa Rishi in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, the Brahmanas came into existence from the face of the primordial Sri Vishnu, the Kshatriyas from his arms, the Vaishyas from his thighs, and the Shudras from his feet. These four Varnas were born along with their particular characteristics, as were the four specific ashramas. So this is telling about the origin of Varna and ashram from the body of the Supreme Lord. Then the next verse is saying a person living among these Varnas and ashramas, he may become intoxicated by his high social position, Varna, or even by his spiritual position, ashrama. He may become intoxicated by that and then fails to worship his worshipful deity, Bhagavan Sri Vishnu, or even he disrespects him. Such a person falls down from his position in the system of Varna and Ashram, loses all his prestige, and takes birth in the lower species. This is the statement here. Na bhajanti, this is what Prabhupada used to quote, this line from this verse. Na bhajanti avajananti stanad brashta patanti adha. Patanti adha means falling down from that position. So, the purpose of the Varna, the occupational division, and the ashrama stage of life is for a person to gradually develop and finally come to the point of performing Bhagavad Bhajan. If even after observing Varnashram Dharma properly, one does not develop a taste for Bhagavad Bhajan, this leads to fall down from the Varnashram Dharma. So then tomorrow we'll read how Ramananda Roy and Mahaprabhu discussed this point. That was the very first suggestion that Ramananda Roy gave, that one should worship Vishnu by following Varnashram Dharma. And so all of this in relation to Varnashram. Gurudev also told us, he checked us one time in Hawaii. Are you in Varnashram? We're on a morning walk. Are you in Varnashram? Are you in Varnashram? And then some devotees were saying, no, Gurudev. Varnashram is material. That was rejected by Mahaprabhu, the devotee would say. And then Gurudev said, no, you must be in Varnashram. You must be in Varnashram. Okay? So, But then he explained that in this Kali Yuga, it is not possible to have the full, complete Varnashram Dharma, because everything has become so far away from that. Although the Varnas are automatically there by the karma of the living entities. Some have the qualities of Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, like that. They're automatically there. But you can't arrange it scientifically like it was arranged in the Vedic times. But what we can do is what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur introduced, which is called Daivi Varnashram Dharma. And this is referring mainly to Ashram Dharma, not Varna Dharma so much. Ashram Dharma. Brahmachari Grihastha Vanaprastha Sannyas. So, by executing as best we can in this Kali Yuga, in the ashram dharmas that we are situated according to our stage of life and so forth, then it can lead to the proper making the gross and subtle bodies favorable for Bhagavad Bhajan. Then we can actually do Bhajan very successfully and gradually become nirgun, you see. So this is the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the modern day, given by our greatest Acharya, Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and that's what all of our current day Acharyas are introducing to the whole world. Anyone in any part of the world.
What does the word Daivi mean again?
It means like divine, transcendental, leading to divine nature. And you know, Krishna's, all of his energies are called Daivi Shakti. They're all transcendental.
Can you explain a little bit more about Daivi Varnashram?
Well, okay, yeah, just quickly. What is
Refresh
Daivi?
my mind, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta
Yes.
Saraswati Thakur.
Yeah, Daivi Varnashram, just like we see in the Gaudiya Math. The Gaudiya Math as a system by which the jivas can come into the association of sadhus and live in their proximity, execute the limbs of bhakti and so forth, but they're situated in one of the four ashramas, either brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas. Those who are in grihastha ashram, generally in the Vedic times, they didn't live in the temples, they lived near, and they would come to visit. So that was also established by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but for the other three ashrams, they would live in a mutt, or in the place where the temple is, the worship, and other elevated renunciate sadhus like that, you see. So we've seen that Srila Prabhupada also introduced, when he started the movement, brahmachari and grihastha, right? He didn't introduce till a little bit later the sannyasa ashram, and he never got around to introducing the vanaprastha ashram because everybody was in their 20s and 30s, you know. So that way it wasn't time for them yet. But Gurudev did. Gurudev sure enough did. Yeah. So in that way, this is the support system for engaging in pure bhakti yoga. Because Daivi Varnashram means that everyone in their ashram is engaging in pure bhakti yoga practices, whether they're in household or whatever. They're all practicing in the same way. They have some specific duties according to their ashram that are different than the other ashrams, but they're all practicing the transcendental processes of bhakti, which is what? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. 9 limbs of bhakti. All ashrams are engaging in that. That's why it's called Daivi Varnashram Dharma. In short, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has written articles explaining in more detail about that. Okay, so we went a little over. Gaur Premanande. Jai Shri Upadeshamrita ki jai, Shri Rupa Goswami Pada ki jai, Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Vansha Kalpatarugascha Krita Sindhu Vaishnava